put together a beef and cheese dip. The earliest recipe I could find for this was without the cheese, and it was in a 1950s Betty Crocker cookbook. And it just had the cream cheese and the sour cream. It didn't have the shredded cheddar cheese. The recipe that I'm going to show you here is one that I can at least trace back to the early 1970s. And so what we're going to do is we'll start with some softened cream cheese. And then we're going to add the cheddar cheese, about 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar. Half a cup of sour cream. And the trickiest or hardest part to this recipe is getting all that blended together. The spatula is not going to work very well for that. So trying to get that cream cheese as soft as possible and then blending it in as well as you can. Now the chopped up dried beef. This is about 2 ounces. We'll add that to the mix. A little bit of chopped up onion and green pepper. And add to that some chopped up green onion, about 1/2 cup. Two teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. Some pepper and some seasoning salt. Again, we'll mix this together until it's thoroughly mixed. You can serve this in a hollowed out bread bowl, like one of those round bread bowls. Pull out the stuff, chunk that into cubes, put this inside, put it in the oven for about 30 minutes or until it's heated through at 350, and that cheese and everything will melt together. You can also serve it with vegetables or crackers or just the cubed up bread. So it gives everybody a lot of options whether or not they want the bread or they just want the vegetables and the beef and cheese dip. Next we're going to make a spinach dip. The recipe that I've always used comes on the back of the package of the Knorr vegetable recipe mix. The earliest I could trace this back was to the 80s. So here's what the recipe calls for. 1 package of the dip, about 1.5 cups of sour cream, a little over 1 cup of mayonnaise. You could also use yogurt and adjust these proportions whether you like mayonnaise or sour cream better. Next, 1 can of diced up water chestnuts. About 1/2 cup of diced green onions. And we're going to mix that really well. Add 1 package of the vegetable recipe. Finally, we're going to add about 10 ounces of thawed and drained spinach, chopped spinach. And I think it's easier if you just put this in a cloth and squeeze it until you get absolutely no liquids coming out of it. Mix that together. Okay. We're going to make ham rolls. These are my mother's ham rolls. I don't know where the recipe came from. I just know that I can't remember a Christmas where we didn't have these. And we're going to start with a block of cream cheese, some diced up green pepper and onion, two teaspoons of mustard and a little bit of mayonnaise. So we're going to take some sliced ham. I use the Black Forest ham, or you can buy a boneless ham and have your butcher slice it. You want it to be thin enough that you can just almost see your fingers through it. So what we'll do, and this gets a little messy, is we'll put down a piece of ham, take some of the mixture, spread it evenly, edge to edge. And then we'll roll it up. At this point you can insert 2 toothpicks. And then we'll place it in a pan. These really need to set overnight for that cream cheese to kind of harden up again. Finished ham rolls, I'll wrap these in saran wrap, and then the next day when they're ready to serve, I will cut these long ones in half with a pair of scissors and plate them up for our guest. Now we're going to do croissant and bacon wrapped little smokies. The earliest reference to this recipe I could find was in the 1950s, and it was with the croissants. I don't know when the genius idea of wrapping it in bacon came about, but it probably was not too much longer. It says in the recipe to cut the bacon into 1/3 strips. I find that makes it hard for the bacon to get done, and so I did 1/4. I kind of pat it out a little bit, and it's just the right size to cover the little smoky. Secure with a toothpick, and then continue on. I'm going to do about half of the little smokies in the bacon and about half of the croissants, and I won't do the croissant ones until tomorrow. A little bit of a brown sugar glaze, and there's just a little brown sugar and some water, and I'll put them in Ziploc bags, and then when we're ready to eat, I'll turn the oven on 350 and go ahead and cook these.